day. According to
Of course, there are technical restrictions because of the war zone and because of many arrangements that Iran made during the war, during this aggression against Iran. So there are some technical restraints, and this is why that all the ships that want to pass through the Strait of Hormuz have to communicate with our army and our military contact points there because of the limitations in this strait. And this strait is a very narrow strait. It is in our territorial waters plus Omani territorial waters. It is inside our waters. So we have to be very careful for the safety and security of tankers and vessels. Those technical restrictions are very much connected to the wartime condition, and it takes time to be removed. So safe passage is secured, Strait of Hormuz is open, but of course, each tanker and every vessel should make necessary arrangements with the Iranian authorities to be able to securely pass this strait.
Now, according to an Iranian official, they have a map showing where the sea mines are located. And because of this, they say that ships need to coordinate with them in order to safely pass through the Strait of Hormuz. But if you think about it, this is a bit doubtful, because according to a report from the New York Times yesterday, even Iran itself is having a hard time finding the mines that they themselves placed.
Ang sabi kasi ng Iran, nagtanim daw sila ng ng mina ng bomba. So ibig sabihin, pinuno nila ng minahan, ng ginawa nilang minahan ng bomba yung Strait of Hormuz. Kaya syempre natatakot yung mga pangkaraniwang mga oil tanker na pumasok diyan. Kasi kung walang giya o guide ng Iranian army, syempre sasabog sila. Kaya yung mga pumapasok diyan ng mga tanker, oil tanker, humihingi ng guide mula sa Iran. Kasi takot silang sumabog. Dahil ang sabi nga ng Iran, naglagay sila diyan ng mga minahan ng bomba. O, ngayon, lumalabas na kahit daw yung mga Iran, hindi nila mahanap yung mga minahan ng bomba na itinanim nila diyan sa Strait of Hormuz. Kaya, nang pumasok ng dire-diretso yung mga barko ng Amerika, pumasok sila dyan. Pumasok sila, walang sabi-sabi, pumasok sila. Pero hindi naman sila sumabog. Walang nangyari. Di ibig sabihin, yung mga sinasabi ng mga Iranian na may mga itinanim sila dyang minahan ng mga bomba ay peke. Hindi totoo. Ibig sabihin, drama lang para matakot yung mga pangkaraniwang oil tanker na pumasok dyan, or matakot sila dyan na pumasok nang hindi humihingi ng pahintulot sa mga Iranian army. Siyempre, pag humingi sila ng pahintulot sa Iranian army, magbabayad sila ng botaw, o magbabayad sila sa sa Iran ng toll fee. O yung toll fee parang babayaran nila. Sa totoo lang, hindi mo naman pwede bigyan ng toll fee yung mga pumapasok niyan kasi yan international shipping lane yan para sa lahat yan. Isa para sa lahat. Yung Strait of Hormuz, hindi pwede angkinin ng ng Iran kasi ang dagat, ang daanan ng dagat, ang mga daanan sa dagat ay para sa lahat. Hindi yan para lang sa Iran, kundi para sa lahat. Diba? Kaso itong Iran, inaangkin niya. Sinasabihin niya na nagtanim siya dyan ng bomba. Pero sa totoo lang, wala naman. Dahil kung meron talagang itinanim na bomba dyan, bakit hindi sumabog yung mga barko ng mga Amerikano? Pumasok sila sa Hormuz nang walang sabi-sabi. Eto, tignan nyo.
This means there's a big problem. Yes, they are. But before that, let's go back to the boldest move, the U.S. ships. Trump said, open the Strait of Hormuz or this will happen.
open up the Gulf with or without him.
In a tense situation that almost seemed like a bluff, America suddenly showed its strength. And in an instant, Iran's claim of a blockade seemed to be broken. For weeks, Iran kept repeating that they had placed deadly underwater mines in one of the most important shipping lanes in the world. It was like a challenge to everyone. Try to pass through and let's see what happens. But today, in broad daylight, nothing was hidden. The heavily armed American warships went straight into the choke point, and they came out again as if nothing happened. No one stopped them. No one tried to attack. And this is where the narrative started to crack, because for the first time since the tension began, there was this kind of move. Open, direct, and seemingly fearless. And this happened at the most critical time for Iran, because behind all the threats and drama, they now need leverage for negotiations, a deal they can accept.
Ibig sabihin, pumasok ang Amerika doon sa Strait of Hormuz nang hindi nagpapaalam sa Iran. Walang giya, walang guide walang guide ng Iranian army. Pero nakapasok yung Amerika nang hindi ginagabayan ng Iranian army. So ibig sabihin, kahit pumasok ang Amerika doon, hindi sila sumabog. Ibig sabihin, walang mina doon, walang minahan ng bomba doon na inilagay ang Iran. 'Di ba? Ibig sabihin, nagsisinungaling lang itong mga Iranian na to. So yung ipinagmamalaki nila na nilagyan daw nila ng minahan ng bomba ang Iran, ang Strait of Hormuz ay hindi totoo. Puro kasinungalingan. Okay? Sinungaling yung animal ng mga Iranian na yan. Ginagawa lang nila yan para takutin ng mga oil tanker na pumasok dyan sa Strait of Hormuz. Kasi inaangkin nga nila yung Strait of Hormuz. Hindi naman dapat angkinin yan. Karagatan yan para sa lahat yan Daanan yan para sa lahat. Kaso itong animal na ng mga Iranian, ginagawa nilang gatasan yung Strait of Hormuz. Nakadadaan dyan ng mga oil tanker magbibigay sa kanila ng toll fee. Dahil kung hindi nila gagabayan. Kasi marami nga namang minahan ng bomba dyan na nagkalat. Di ba? Para matakot at magbigay ng pera. Yan ang totoo. Yung mga animal na demonyong na yan, ayatollah ko mini. Tama lang na animal na yan na sumabog yan. Satanas yan. Tama lang, pati kaluluwa yan. Baka itaboy ni Satanas dun sa sa impyerno Kasi baka sapawan niya si Satanas sa kasamaan Diba? Ngayon, napatunayan natin sinungaling ang mga Iranian, demonyo, masamang nilalang ang mga Iranian, di ba? Napatunayan natin.
Smartphone technician fired after showing customers the hidden kill switch buried.
Ano ba yan? Napunta ako dito.
Look at who arrived from the Iranian side. Even though the exact number isn't known, based on estimates, there are around 70 people in their delegation. And this isn't just any ordinary group. They're complete. There are economic experts, diplomatic advisors, and security specialists. Almost everything needed for negotiations is already there. Even the figure that the ERGC has long wanted to include, Muhammad Ali Bagheri, is also part of the delegation. And if you think about it, this says a lot. It means this isn't just a simple conversation. Iran is serious. It looks like they're ready to make a deal, as long as it's a deal they can accept. But here's the twist. Before they even left for Pakistan, they made a bold statement. The leader of the delegation said that if the two conditions aren't met, they won't go. What are the conditions? First, a ceasefire in Lebanon. Second, return their frozen funds, the money that's blocked because of sanctions. But guess what? Neither of those happened. Up to now, there's no ceasefire in Lebanon. In fact, Israel's attacks are still ongoing. More than 200 targets were hit in just 24 hours. And as for the money, according to U.S. officials, they never promised to return it. And up to now, nothing has been returned. That means 0 out of 2. None of the conditions were met. But even so, Iran still came to the talks. And they didn't just show up, they even brought a large delegation. They talked for several hours, over 4 hours behind closed doors, and they were face to face with J.D. Vance himself, along with experts from both sides. Now, based on this, there's a clear signal. They might not admit it directly, but it looks like Iran needs this negotiation. Because if you look back, they said boldly in public, "We won't go if our conditions aren't met." But that didn't happen. In the end, they were still the ones who flew and talked. It could have been a bluff, a last-minute pressure tactic, like they tried to increase their demands, hoping the U.S. would agree. But America didn't budge. They stuck to its position. And what happened was, it seemed like Iran backed down and said, okay, we tried, and still continued with the talks, but not everyone is happy with what's happening. Especially Hezbollah and the people in Lebanon. For them, it felt like Iran abandoned them. After making strong statements, suddenly they're just talking to America, while the fighting on the ground still continues. And this is where everything becomes complicated, because while Iran is negotiating, their relationship with their allies is also gradually being affected. For now, the talks are still ongoing, but there are still no clear details about what has been agreed upon, where they agree, and where they don't. But one thing is certain, there's a lot at stake here, and in the coming days we'll find out if this will end in an agreement, or if it will lead to a new chapter of even greater tension. But wait, let's change the topic a bit. Right now we already know that the Middle East is in chaos, and because of this, did you know that almost 1 million Muslims have converted to Christianity? If you don't want to believe it, then watch this video.
Today, the news is full of the threat of war in the Middle East. At the same time, a revolution is underway in parts of the region, a Jesus revolution.
Something surprising is happening right now. Most Muslims in the country of Iran are converting to Christianity. Imagine a country so accustomed to old traditions. It's like nothing changes no matter how much time passes. But suddenly, something unexpected is happening. In Iran itself, there's a unique scene right now. Christian churches are full, while mosques are gradually losing attendees. And because of this, a big question arises. What is really happening in Iran? And in this video, that's what we're going to find out. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to Arvin Polo TV. More than 1 million Muslims in Iran have chosen to leave their former religion and embrace Christianity. It's surprising because in a country known for its strict Islamic law, something is quietly happening right under the government's nose. Because of this, many are now asking if this is the gradual weakening of radical Islam within the country. When you hear the word Iran, you automatically think of Islam. That's normal, because Iran is the largest Shiite Muslim state in the world. And it's not just a majority Muslim country, their very government is a theocracy. This means that almost all of their laws are based on religion. Here, you can't just go against it. Anyone who violates their religious rules faces a heavy punishment. Included in those who enforce this is the so-called morality police, a government unit that monitors people's compliance with the Islamic dress code and behavior. The morality police have long been controversial due to reports of abuse, including cases of women being excessively punished just for violating the mandatory hijab law. The hijab is a piece of cloth worn by women on their heads as part of the Islamic dress code. Despite the government's strict enforcement, there are signs emerging that their grip on people's hearts is not as strong as it used to be. 50,000 out of 75,000 mosques across Iran. They say these have closed because only a few people come in to pray. According to Iranian cleric Mohammed Abu Qasim, attendance has dropped significantly, and it's clear that there is widespread disappointment within society. While interest in mosques is declining, the opposite story is gaining strength: the spread of Christianity. Under a strict Islamic regime, there is a secret movement that some now call
Paano linisin ang lumang kama?
in the Tide International Radio Ministry. Their report says that up to 1 million Iranians have accepted Christ. This is not a small number. This is a clear indication of a change in the hearts of millions of people. There are many reasons why this shift is happening. Many Iranians are already tired of political issues, economic problems, and social restrictions. The country is struggling economically. Many people feel that the laws are suffocating. And because of the government's strictness, many are searching for a connection with God that is more personal, more real, and gives more hope. For many who convert, they feel that Christianity gives them peace, joy, and freedom that they never experienced in the old system. Quiet but expanding, slow but steady. And in a country considered the center of Shiite Islam, one question is growing even louder. Can this government stop a change that begins in the very heart of a person? For many, Christianity offers a message that is the opposite of the strict and punitive style of leadership in Iran. Instead of fear and punishment, they hear about hope, love, forgiveness, and a personal relationship with God. These are things that people who are tired of decades of oppression have long been searching for. According to Todd Nettleton from Voice of the Martyrs, a group that helps persecuted Christians, Iran's problems are very deep right now. The number of addicts is very high, corruption is widespread, and more than half of the population lives in extreme poverty. Because of this, many Iranians are losing trust in the version of Islam promoted by their government. The economic crisis also has a big impact. Due to the long-standing sanctions from other countries, plus mismanagement and corruption within the government, Iran's economy could not cope. Many people are hungry, unemployed, and feel that they have been deceived by a government that promised to lead them to a better future. The Gaman Institute, based in the Netherlands, even released a survey showing that almost 80% of Iranians now want a democratic government. This means they are tired of the Islamic Republic in its current form. Democracy is a government where the people choose their leaders. It's not religion or religious leaders who dictate. Because of this, more people are looking for a different path, not just politically, but also spiritually. And in their search for new hope, Christianity is seen not just as a religion, but as freedom, both spiritual and social. For others, countries with a Christian majority are symbols of human rights, equality, and freedom, things they haven't experienced for a long time. So as the call for reform grows stronger, more and more Iranians are becoming interested in Christianity. For many, this religion has become a quiet way to resist the regime that has been oppressing them for so long. And as expected, the Islamic leadership did not like this. In Iran, it is forbidden to convert from Islam to Christianity. A person who leaves Islam is called an apostate. It means turning away from the religion. And in Iran, the punishment is severe. They can be imprisoned, tortured, or sometimes even executed. That's why the government is doing everything to stop it now, because they see the increasing number of Christian converts as a direct threat to their hold on power. But no matter how hard they try, they can't stop the movement. Underground churches, secret worship gatherings, and online Bible studies on social media and other digital platforms have spread everywhere. Once again, according to Todd Nettleton, it's not just because people are tired of Islam that they're converting. Many have been captivated by the simplicity and warmth of Christianity, especially its emphasis on compassion, forgiveness, and a personal relationship with Christ. In a country accustomed to fear, punishment, and control, the message of grace and love is like a light they haven't seen in a long time. For many Iranians, the idea of having a personal relationship with God is like a light in a dark room. This is the kind of hope they never experienced in their former religion, which was full of fear, law, and punishment, in a country where almost everything is controlled by the government. The government, from clothing to actions. It's exhausting to live without a voice and without freedom. That's why the teachings of Jesus go straight to their hearts. In a world full of promises from leaders that are never fulfilled, and in a system that seems to crush people under the weight of injustice, the words of Jesus are like a cool breeze on a hot night. Many Iranians hold on to the words, from Matthew 11, verses 28 to 30 that say, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." These are not just mere words.
Sana itong pag-convert ng mga Iranian na Shia Muslim ay maka-encourage sa mga Hudaismo ng Israel. Kasi yung mga Hudaismo ng Israel, mga sinagoga ni Satanas yan. Yan ang mga Hudaismo na ayaw kilalanin ang Panginoong Hesukristo. Ang tingin nila sa Panginoong Hesukristo ay anak sa labas ni Maria. Anak sa pagkakasala ni Maria o anak sa ibang lalaki ni Maria. Kaya ayaw nilang tanggapin ang Panginoong Hesukristo. Kasi ang tingin nila kay Hesukristo, anak sa pagkakasala ni Birheng Maria. Kaya ayun, yung mga Hudaismo na yan ang totoong sinagoga ni Satanas, no? Ayaw kasi nilang tanggapin ang Panginoong Hesukristo. Nagkukunwari sila, sabi nila mga Israelita daw sila, mga Hudyo daw sila sa laman. Kaya nga sila tinanggal sa sa puno 'Di ba? Ang sabi ang puno ay ang katawan ng Panginoong Hesukristo. Tapos may mga ugat. Ang mga ugat na yan yung mga Hudyo, na mga Hudyo sa laman o likas na Hudyo. Likas na Hudyo, ibig sabihin sila yung mga Hudyong isinilang talaga sa loob ng Israel na tinanggap ang Panginoong Hesukristo. Sila mga Hudaismo sila na tumanggap sa Panginoong Hesukristo bilang Mesiya o bilang anak ng Diyos Ama, isang Diyos, anak ng Diyos Ama, no? Isang totoong Diyos na nagkatawang tao na siyang isinugo ng Ama para maging kaligtasan, no? Siya yung Mesiya. Kasi yung mga Hudaismo na ayaw tumanggap sa Panginoong Hesukristo, ayaw nila kilalanin ang Panginoong Hesukristo na Mesiya. Ang tingin nila sa Panginoong Hesukristo, anak sa pagkakasala ni Maria. Kaya yan dapat ang maparusahan yung mga Hudyo na yan na Hudyo o mga sinagoga ni Satanas. Ayaw tanggapin ng Panginoong Hesukristo, mga sinagoga ni Satanas. Kaya dapat yung pagko-convert ng mga Shia Islam na bilang isang Kristiano ay maging aral diyan sa mga Hudyo na yan na mga sinagoga ni Satanas.
For people who are utterly exhausted by life, this is a promise of peace, an invitation to rest after many years of suffering. Many in Iran have long been searching for this kind of hope, a feeling that they are not alone and that there is a God who sees the burdens they carry. In a country where oppression and poverty seem to be a part of daily life, Christianity is gradually becoming more than just a religion. For some, it is a symbol of personal freedom, a way to breathe, and a quiet act of defiance against a system that has long oppressed them. For people who are tired of the unfulfilled promises of Islamic theocracy, turning to Jesus feels like finding space to live again. It's not just a spiritual belief, but a deep and personal rebellion, a quiet stand that says, I don't want this anymore. I don't want this system that has failed us for decades. Iran has been oppressing its own people for a long time. There is widespread poverty, corruption, and one of the highest drug addiction rates in the world. Because of all these problems, many Iranians have lost trust in the government that promised them dignity and justice in the name of Islam. But it never happened. Instead, they found in Christianity a message that was very different. A message about love, forgiveness, hope, and a God who does not control, but loves. For many, the idea of a personal relationship with God is not frightening, not burdensome, not suffocating. It becomes more human, more heartfelt, more real, but of course this did not escape the government's notice. converts is not just a simple religious issue, but a threat to the very foundation of the regime. This regime was built on a strict interpretation of Islam, so anyone who converts to another faith is seen as a direct attack on their legitimacy. And this is where things get more intense. As the Christian movement in Iran continues to grow stronger, the government's response becomes even harsher. They do not hesitate. When they receive a tip about an underground church, they raid it quickly. The new converts are arrested. They are thoroughly investigated and closely monitored. The regime's fear is clear. If people find hope and meaning outside of their version of Islam, their control over the citizens will be broken. But even with such danger, the number of believers continues to grow. They use digital platforms, online Bible studies, and secret gatherings to keep practicing their faith. Quiet but steadfast. A quiet revolution, but one full of courage. In different parts of Iran, new Christian converts secretly share the changes in their lives with their families and friends. They know it's dangerous, so every word, every chat, every action is done carefully. The small safe spaces they have, like hidden house churches and discreet Bible study groups, become their refuge, even if only for a short while. Usually there are no more than 10 to 15 people. In a simple apartment or an unremarkable house, they quietly enter one by one. When the last guest enters and they hear the door lock, they feel a brief sense of relief. It's as if their souls can breathe for a moment. Here, even if it's just for a few hours, they have true peace. But this peace quickly disappears. There are times when the authorities suddenly arrive. Fast, quiet, organized, like a military operation. They arrest the leaders of the groups, those they see as pillars of the movement. No warning, no chance to hide. They will be brought to detention facilities, specifically designed to break a person's spirit. Solitary confinement, torture, relentless psychological pressure. The government's goal is simple: force them to renounce Jesus and return to Islam. Inside, the conditions are extremely harsh. No access to family, no access to legal counsel. And often, their cases are based on vague accusations like acting against national security. And even after the sentence is over, the nightmare isn't finished. They are still being monitored. Every call, every time they leave the house, every person they talk to, everything is monitored because in the eyes of the government, they are a threat. But even with this heavy burden, more and more Iranians are drawn to their message. In the midst of corruption, injustice, and daily oppression, Christianity brings hope and a sense of freedom that they haven't experienced in a long time. Even though the government wants to stop the movement, they can't prevent people from turning to the life-giving message. Quiet but strong. Dangerous but growing. Watched closely but moving forward. And what's happening now is like an echo of what Jesus said. In Matthew 10:22, "You will be hated by everyone because of me, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved." And in Iran, many people still choose to stand firm until the end. The words of Jesus in Matthew seem to resonate deeply in the hearts of Christians in Iran. Despite persecution that is almost unimaginable, violence, imprisonment, and sometimes even worse, they remain steadfast in the face of every threat they encounter. The courage and strength of their faith become even clearer. It's surprising, but while the government keeps pressuring people and tightening restrictions, many families and friends of the converts are becoming more understanding. According to Todd Nettleton from Voice of the Martyrs, people often say things like this when they find out someone they know has changed their religion. If you find something that works for you, even if it's Jesus, just go with it. Or something else, that's fine too. All I know is that Islam doesn't work for me, so I'm glad you found a better direction. This shows that even though the government is very strict, many ordinary Iranians are not as close-minded as the regime that leads them. And this movement, it's not just happening in Iran. According to Don Schenck, executive director of the Tide Ministry, Iran is just the tip of a huge iceberg across the Muslim world. Little by little, people are also waking up and holding on to Christ because of their longing for freedom, truth, and hope. The reports from the Tide ministry are even more surprising. Many Muslims are said to be having dreams and visions about Jesus. These experiences become the beginning of deep spiritual journeys. Even if they don't become Christians right away, these dreams push them to ask questions, to search, and to slowly open their hearts to another faith. In Islam, dreams are very important. They often call this divine communication, which means a message from God. That's why when they dream of Jesus, they feel that there's something different, a message, a calling. According to Shank, almost everyone who experienced this says the same thing. It's only now that I realized how much God loves me. Before, I used to see him as all about punishment and anger. When they dream of Jesus smiling, guiding, and showing love, their whole worldview is shaken. Because for the first time, they see God not as a judge looking for faults, but as a father who loves and guides. And because of this, many start to ask, maybe I have misunderstood God? Maybe Jesus is the answer I've been searching for all along? This becomes the beginning of a spiritual awakening, an awakening that the government cannot stop because it starts deep within a person's heart. The unusual dreams and visions about Jesus are not only happening in Iran, they are also spreading to different parts of the Muslim world. According to Shank, it's clear that what is happening in Iran is just part of a bigger movement, a spiritual movement that is slowly making the impossible possible throughout the Muslim world. In Afghanistan, for example, the danger for Christians under the Taliban is extremely high. The Taliban is an extremist group known for the severe restrictions and violence they impose on those who violate Islamic law. In this situation, Christians can hardly breathe. They have to hide their faith, gather in secret, and live as if every day could be their last. There is always fear. Fear that someone might infiltrate the group. Fear that someone might report them. Fear that their faith will be discovered, and they will pay for it with their lives. According to Shank, the consequences are very clear and very serious. Accepting Christ in a place like this literally comes at the cost of your life. But even with such danger, they still receive feedback that the number of Christians in Afghanistan is increasing. Not just because of religion, but because of their personal search for God. Because they want to feel that they are loved, forgiven, and accepted by God without the need for fear and punishment.
Lutang kami pagtanghali, boss.
Coffee.
Try it!
Another surprising place is Yemen. According to studies, the spread of Christianity there is almost twice as fast as the global rate. This is remarkable, especially considering that Yemen has long been known for its deep Islamic tradition and severe humanitarian crisis, war, hunger, and unrest that seem never ending. Even in Saudi Arabia, a country known for the strictest interpretation of Islam, changes are also being noticed. According to Todd Nettleton, even though the situation for Christians there is still difficult, the tone of the monarchy is beginning to change. Instead of total rejection, there is gradually a recognition that peaceful coexistence is possible. This is far from the situation in the previous decade when any form of religious diversity was immediately suppressed and treated as a crime. On social media, the interest grew even stronger. A viral tweet from the conservative commentator Denda spread the claim that millions of Muslims are becoming Christians. It received thousands of reactions and sparked discussions online. There's also an old interview from the year 2000 where Al-Qahtani allegedly said that 667 Muslims convert every hour. That's equivalent to 16,000 every day and 6 million every year. But no matter how big this sounds, there's not enough evidence to support this number. Even so, real-life stories from the Tide Ministry, the Voice of the Martyrs, and even the personal testimonies of new Christians confirm that there is truly a major spiritual shift happening now. Many are becoming Christians not because of statistics, but because of personal experiences, dreams, visions, or simply searching for hope. For many new believers in the Middle East, what is happening to them is not just a personal transformation. They feel that they are part of a bigger movement of God, a quiet wave ready to change not just individual lives, but also the fate of many nations that have long been called Islamic strongholds. In places that the world thinks are impossible to change, the Holy Spirit continues to move, quietly but powerfully. And the lives that are being changed continue to prove that no wall, culture, government, or tradition can stop the movement of God when He decides to act. The message of the Bible, God's call for all people to be saved through Jesus, can cross any nation, culture, or border. Wherever it reaches, it has a unique effect. It's like it immediately touches the hearts of people who have long been searching for hope. That's why this movement is not confined to just one country. It's not just Iran or just the Middle East. This is proof that God's love is universal, vast, and does not discriminate. It gives hope to people who have long been living under oppression, injustice, and hopelessness. For so many people in the Middle East, learning about God's unconditional love is like opening a door to a world they never knew was possible. Instead of living in fear that God will punish them for every mistake, they are gradually coming to know God as merciful, forgiving, and close. A God who truly cares about them. This is not just a simple change of belief. What is happening is making waves, gradually changing the culture, perspectives, and even the very social fabric of the region. The Middle East, which the world has long seen as a place slow to change, is now slowly experiencing a quiet but clear spiritual transformation. As more people receive salvation through Jesus, the spiritual landscape of the entire region is also gradually changing. This transformation is rooted in a message that brings freedom, truth, and light to places that have long been covered in darkness. And even though there is strong opposition, even though those who try to stop it are harsh, what God is doing still cannot be stopped. His love continues to enter people's hearts. His truth keeps bringing light. And the hope He brings is gradually returning to those who were once full of fear and without direction.
So may posibilidad, 'di ba, na ang Iran ay maging isang Christian country. Yan ang totoo. Magiging isang Christian country ang Iran. Handaan nyo yan. May posibilidad yan. Walang imposible sa Diyos Ama at sa Panginoong Hesukristo. 'Di ba? Ang totoo niyan, pag itinanggi mo ang anak, parang tinanggi mo rin ang ama. So, hindi ka sasang-ayunan ng ama kung hindi mo kikilalanin ang kanyang anak, ang Panginoong Hesukristo. So, lahat ng bansa na yan na hindi kinikilala ang Panginoong Hesukristo, isa-isa yan sila babagsak. 'Di ba? Sinabi nga ng Panginoong ng Diyos Ama sa anak, kaya ay ka, maupo ka sa aking kanan, hanggang lahat ng iyong kaaway ay mailagay ko sa ilalim ng iyong mga paa. O, di ibig sabihin, lahat ng hindi kumikilala sa Panginoong Hesukristo, isa-isa yan lahat, paluluhurin yan, ipapailalim yan sa paanan ng Panginoong Hesukristo. Lahat ng kanyang kaaway, payuyukuin sa kanyang paanan. At isa yan, ang Iran ay magiging isang napakalaking patotoo. Kapag kaya ay naging isang Kristiyanong bansa, yan ay isang napakalaking patotoo na ang lahat ng kaaway ng Panginoong Hesukristo ay yuyuko sa kanyang paa. Kasi ang Diyos Ama ang nagsabi, maupo ka sa aking kanan at lahat ng iyong mga kaaway ay ipapailalim ko sa iyong mga paa. So lahat ng hindi kumikilala sa Panginoong Hesukristo, isa-isa yan ilalagay sa kanyang paanan. Payuyukuin sila. At isang napakalaking patotoo itong nangyayari sa Iran, na marami ang nako-convert na mga Shia Muslim, nagiging Kristiano sila. Kasi nauumay na sila sa kanilang sa kanilang reliyon eh. Kasi ang reliyon nila at ang kanilang gobyerno naging isa. Parang ang gobyerno nila ang tagapagtanggol ng kanilang reliyon. Na kung tutuusin, hindi dapat ganun. Hiwalay dapat ang gobyerno sa reliyon. Kaso, ang gobyerno nila ang naging tagapagtanggol ng kanilang reliyon. Kaya sinisikil sila. Para silang alipin o para silang bilanggo sa kanilang sariling reliyon. Kaya yan, naumay sila at saka sa bandang huli iniiwan nila ang kanilang reliyon. Kasi sinisikil sila. Masyado na silang sinasakal ng kanilang reliyon. Kaya yan, malaking patotoo yan. Na lahat ng kaaway ng Panginoong Jesucristo, lahat ng kaaway ng ating Panginoong Jesucristo, ang Mesiya, ay paluluhurin at ipapailalim sa kanyang mga paa. At ito na nga ang Iran, ang isa sa katotohanan ng propesiya na yan, na ngayon ay nagaganap na. Okay?